Ellen DeGeneres,
Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson,
and Chris Evans.
What do all of these celebrities have in common?
These celebrities, along with many, many more, have all experienced depression at some point in their life. Hi, I'm Thea Letcher.
And I'm Brinley Coleman.
And we're from the Hatton Northwood FCCLA chapter, here to present our project to you,
Depression Awareness.
In our facts class, we learned about the stresses that teenagers face this day and age. Technology and ways of living have changed drastically over the past 20 years and have created new struggles for teenagers to deal with in regards to social media, school, family, and many others. According to Kansas State University, teens today feel invincible. So whenever they feel any kind of emotional turmoil, they don't know how to process the feeling and have not been taught how to properly cope with it.
We learned that when these stressors are not properly being coped with, it can lead to many mental illnesses like depression. Depression is a mood disorder that causes constant feeling of hopelessness and helplessness.
Depression can slow brain development by delaying the growth of gray matter in the brain.
Our brains have gray matter, which is undeveloped tissue. When it is properly developed, it turns white. But depression causes gray matter to stay gray and not develop properly. This is why teenagers with depression are at a greater risk of falling behind in school and missing the important emotional curve in the adolescent stage.
A study done by Ulm University Hospital found that greater volumes of the prefrontal cortex were made of gray matter in adolescents who suffered from depression. The prefrontal cortex is the part of the brain that sits just behind the forehead and controls planning, organization, prioritizing, and other complex thought processes. The development of the prefrontal cortex is what makes it possible for teenagers to reason and control their impulses. Before it is developed, teens rely on the part of the brain that controls emotion, also known as the amygdala.
As we were researching, we realized we can't stop depression from happening, but we could help our peers in recognizing signs in themselves and others before damage is done to the prefrontal cortex.
At the beginning of our mental health unit in facts class, our teacher asked us on a scale of 1 to 5 how comfortable we were in recognizing the signs of depression in ourselves and others. Most of our class answered with a 2 or a 3, which is not very comfortable.
This wasn't a very big concern to us because we knew we were about to be educated on the subject. But then we realized that our teacher had got a new curriculum, so the grades above us did not have the same instruction. Therefore, they did not have the same knowledge as us on the subject. We were also concerned that adults in the community would not know how to recognize symptoms of depression in teens in their lives.
This is when we set our goal, to increase the community of Hatton's awareness on the signs, symptoms, and treatments of depression through a series of activities and presentations throughout the months of January and February.
Our plan to achieve our goal was to make and present a presentation to our high school during an assembly. We would talk about what depression is, how to recognize it, and how to get help. The following week, we would have an activity for our high school to do during the weekly Obeas time. Obeas is an anti-bullying program designed to be a time to focus on bettering yourself and the community.
After presenting to the high school, we would take our presentation to multiple different adult groups in the community. We wanted to present to adult groups to reach another demographic that could still support the adolescents in our community.
We would also create a survey to document if our audience had learned anything and to give feedback on our presentation.
To act on our goal, we had to first make a PowerPoint presentation. We did extensive research to get the right information we needed to appeal to our audience. We researched different topics from how social media plays a role in depression to how to cope with depression in healthy ways. We practiced our presentation to our class to see if it appealed to them the way we wanted it to. While planning our presentation, we remembered that a substitute teacher for our school had suffered from depression. We realized that because he was such a well-known person throughout the school, he would be a very influential person to come and talk about his experiences.
Now it was time to present our presentation. We presented at the end of the day on the 8th of January. We went through all of the slides and did a trivia game where we handed out Pura Vida bracelets as prizes. We picked Pura Vida bracelets because they sell special green bracelets for depression awareness. All the proceeds made from these bracelets were sent to an organization to help fight depression. Our substitute teacher then spoke about his experiences with depression and encouraged the students to get help if they were ever experiencing depression symptoms. We received very good feedback from our guest speaker, for nobody knew that he had experienced depression.
After the presentation, we had to plan our follow-up Oveus lesson. We created a lesson plan for the advisors of each class to follow. We explained the process to them, and they were in charge of leading their lesson. We used a game called Depression Quest for the lesson. This website gives you a story to read, and as you move along with the story, it gives you different scenarios to choose from. Depending on the scenario you choose, the story changes. We thought that this would work very well for our lesson because then the students could get a real idea of what it is like to have depression. We also made a follow-up survey for students and staff to fill out asking questions about our presentation.
We also presented to 2 other groups in our community. These groups were of older age and consisted of many parents and grandparents. We wanted to present to older groups in our community to educate parents and grandparents on signs, symptoms, and treatments of depression so they can help the teens in their lives stay healthy.
We compiled all of the data from our surveys and analyzed the results. As we had mentioned, before we began our project, most students were not comfortable in identifying the symptoms of depression in themselves and others. We had the Oveus lesson advisors give the survey to the kids in their classrooms, and we received tremendous feedback. 60% of participants increased their level of comfort in recognizing signs of depression from a 2 or a 3 to a 4 or a 5. 42% of participants gave our presentation an overall 5 out of 5, and 40% gave it a 4 out of 5.
Some of the comments we received from the survey were, "I liked how well you guys explained the topic. I appreciate how passionate you were about the subject. And I really liked the activity. It made it more real and gave specific situations."
We also received many comments from people wishing they had more time to complete the depression quest. If we were given the opportunity to present the presentation again, we would allow more time for this.
We had been invited to present to another community group in the spring, and some other groups had expressed interest as well, but we have had to postpone. Because of this, we think that our presentations had a very good effect on the community, and we believe that we educated a great number of people on depression. We know that we have helped our community in being prepared to help those suffering.
1 in 5 teenagers experience depression. Are you aware of the signs?